Hello and welcome to this new video of News Bharati. Today we are going to talk about much discussed population control bill. We have two guests for this topic. First is Rohit Sarvadnya ji, and the other is Ratan Sharda ji. Both of them have researched and read about this topic a lot. Rohit ji especially is a high court lawyer and he has really looked into it from the legal point of view. Ratanji, as you all know, Ratanji, he has read about it not just from the legal point of view, but from the controversy surrounding this topic, which are mostly political, some are social. So he will obviously enlighten us about these two topics. So Rohitji, first question is this bill, the population control bill, tabled? If not, when will it be tabled? And what is inside this bill?
First of all, I'm thankful for the organizer for giving me chance to talk on the very crucial aspect of population control bill. The highest controversy of this bill is all parties have submitted private bill for the population control somewhere in the past. Up till now, more than 40 private bills were presented in the parliament, and the uh, the controversial point is that none of it converted into the act. All parties are interested in presenting the bill, but no one is interested in converting the bill into the act. So this bill was tabled by Honorable Rakesh Sinha, Member of Parliament. So what is basically the provisions of the bill? We are going to discuss it. So the first important point is that this bill, now we'll refer it as an act or whatever it may be. It will be converted into the act after the consent of both the houses. So this bill is applicable only to the first. The very important provision of the bill is that this bill is applicable only to the married couples. So they have not discussed the issues related to live-in relationship and all other aspects. So the bill is restricted only to the framework of married couple, and this will not applicable to other types of couples. The government, the next and important provision of the bill is that the government shall set up district level monitoring committee to be known as District Population Stabilization Committee in 100 districts with the highest recorded population growth rates. The committee shall take steps to encourage the use of contraceptives and control the population growth rate. So these committees will definitely do a great work in coming future, as per my opinion, considering the nature and other things of the committee. So, what are the benefits given for the couples who opt to undergo the sterilization? So, they have given some benefits. So, the first benefit is that they have given preference to the single child for admission in institutes of higher education. Also, they have given preference for selection to the single child in government jobs. They have also opened the scope, as the provision is given that such other benefits that may be prescribed by the appropriate government. So they have in future they may be going to increase the benefits for the couple who opt to undergo sterilization after one child. And if the couple who undergo sterilization after one child, and if that couple is below the poverty line, then in addition to above benefits, if that single child is boy, they will get 60,000 rupees, and if the single child is girl, they will get the 1 lakh rupees from the government of India. So the next part, the provision of the bill comes that if the married couple have more than 2 children, then what are the provisions laid down in the bill? Then the parents are debarred from various facilities. The first and important facility is that they are debarred from contesting Lok Sabha election. They are debarred from contesting state legislature. They are debarred from contesting panchayat elections also. This is the very important provision which they have inserted in the bill. The other provision is that they are debarred from getting elected to Rajya Sabha also, and the state legislature and similar elective bodies. So the parents, that married couple, is debarred from all these facilities or all these types of. They are also debarred from getting promotion in government service. They are also debarred from applying, even not even selecting, but even applying to Group A jobs under the central and state governments. The parents also debarred from receiving any kind of government subsidy in case the married couple falls in the above poverty line category. But they will receive the government subsidy if the married couple falls below the poverty line. Government has also the bill also have provision for educating people on the point of population control. Government shall introduce a compulsory subject relating to population control in all senior secondary schools in states where the average fertility rate is more than the replacement level of 2.1 children per woman. So these are the provisions of the population control bill.
Okay, so just to go further on this particular topic, many people are asking this question that why is it necessary now? Do we really need population control bill now? The main point of view behind asking this question is that the fertility rate, which I think a couple of months ago it was published that India's fertility rate is now at either around 2.1 or just below 2.1, which is, as we all know, 2.1 is necessary for to replace your population. If our fertility rate is below 2.1, then do we really need this population control bill? So how would you answer to that?
Okay. The first of all, fertility rate, the total fertility rate and total marital fertility rate are two different things. So 2.1 is not the fertility rate. It's a total marital. Total marital fertility rate. If you call average of India, it's a 4.9. But average is always delusionary. It's not 2.1. It's 4.9. 2.1 is something different. So we are. If you are asking about me the total marital fertility rate, if we go to the Uttar Pradesh, it is 6.8. In Bihar, it is 6.3. In Jharkhand, it is 6.1. In Chhattisgarh, it is 5.5. In Kerala, it is 5.1. In Madhya Pradesh, it is 5. In Rajasthan, 4.7. In Odisha, 3.8. Tamil Nadu, 3.7. Telangana, 3.6. Andhra Pradesh, 3.4. Karnataka, 3.3. Uttarakhand, 2.8. You will understand by observing these numbers that it is totally different in different states. So total marital fertility rate, if you call average is 4.9. And one thing we have always keep in mind that average is always delusional. So considering this aspect, population control bill is absolutely necessary. It is a need of hour, I can say.
Ratanji, would you like to add something to this point? Then we'll go to the next question.
Well, I think Advocate Rohit Sarathy has put wonderful points together in a very brief and precise manner. My question to him is, before I speak, how do you arrive at overall average rate, TFR rate that you talk about? These are the merit numbers, because in India we don't have many children out of marriage or unmarried comparatively, but your figures speak very differently. So can you explain the difference between the two before I speak?
Yes, please. The total fertility rate in various countries where the children's born not out of wedlock, but out of some live-in relationship and other things. Therefore, TFR rate is applicable in various countries, but not applicable in India. In India, we always used to calculate the total marital fertility rate. This is our culture. So, considering our culture in India, we consider the total marital fertility rate and not the total fertility rate. And these are the data which is given in the parliament by Honorable Rakesh Sinha at the time of his speech in Rajya Sabha.
No, but I still don't get the difference between the marital fertility rate of 2.1 is 4.9. From where does the 4.9 come?
It's a data available on the internet also. 4.9.
This fertility rate is dependent on what are the number, how do you calculate the number of children, which is nearly more than double than the one we talk about marital fertility rate.
Okay. One sec. I'll show you the exact.
Because the number you quote are very alarming.
Yes, because what 1.2%, 2.1 is. It is from the data. Right now, I'm not able to get it from.
Okay, if you can during the discussion,
Yes,
please
yes,
share
yes.
it.
I'll
Now coming to the
right.
point why we need population control. If you remember, we were going right path till 1975, and we had Hum Do, Hamare Do, etc. And then during emergency, Sanjay Gandhi, in his overzealousness and his lieutenants, actually created a huge fiasco and a huge problem of compulsory sterilization. Now that particular backlash was so strong in the next election that after that nobody dared talk about population at all. You check any manifesto, you check any speech, especially forget the manifesto. Nobody looks at it later. But if you look at the speeches of the leaders of various times, people simply don't want to speak about population control, fearing the backlash and loss of votes. I do not know how long one particular sin can be dragged on at the cost of the nation. Now, why do we need it? We know that nature cannot have unlimited supplies. We know that nature has limited supplies, not just in India, all over the globe. The current climate change emergency that we see today is because of acute pressure on the natural resources due to real requirements, due to imaginary requirements, due to excess consumerism. But point is that we cannot support unlimited number of people on a limited number of resources. If you look at water, water has become a rare commodity. China is trying to control various water sources, including what should come to India. And this is happening all over the world. We have a huge problem of our lakes drying up. We have seen South Africa, we have seen countries in Latin America where the lakes are actually drying up. There are rivers which have become drains, because now if you see, even the rivers are becoming smaller because of the problem with the polar ice. So thus water is going to be a huge problem for people. And not only that, even limited food grains. How long can you keep on increasing the supply of the food grains? Thirdly, we want better life for the people in this country. If we want better life in the life of the people, we need to use resources much more diligently, much more well, so that people get more benefit out of what is available. Unfortunately, more we do, if you see in India, you build roads, and by the time road becomes complete, it's already choked. You build railway stations, you bring in more trains. By the time the trains and the railway tracks start working, you are already overloaded. This simply shows in a very, very common sense way that we are having huge issue of population, which will not allow the benefits to reach to the lowest economically deprived people in the hierarchy. So this is very important that we have this control, and not for the sake of others, for our sake, for our coming generation. Tomorrow the children will ask, what have you left us? As there are environmentalists are working on it, and Dr. Chetan Solanki has dedicated his life, IIT professor, on this issue of limiting our requirements. As RSS chief had said, and earlier Gandhiji had said, that we have enough for our requirement, not for our greed. If that is the scenario, you can imagine what is the future. Now the World Climate Law says that in next 8 years, if we don't control the consumption of our resources, the temperature rise of Earth will be 1.5 degree plus. If that happens, water will simply evaporate, seas will rise. I have maps of coming sea rise, and you will find 2 meter to 10 meter rise in sea levels, which will destroy the entire habitat. If that is a real danger we can't see, then definitely we will say, what is the need of population control?
Ratanji, if I may just push you on this particular point. So the question is, what will be the impact of population control bill? But just to stretch your argument, what you just made, if we go by the same logic, I mean, the argument would be that wouldn't we also face the same effect that China faced with one child policy? I mean, that's the argument that many people are giving. if we implement population control bill, then we will face the same problems which China is facing now, maybe 40 years after the implementation. What would you say?
See,
Rohit, if you want to answer it, after Ratanji, you can also answer to that.
See, point is China has a huge dictatorship where when they say one child norm, that means it is one child norm, and it ends up with huge penalties to the people, including various kind of very oppressive measures to control the population. At that time, China had very serious problem of feeding its people and also is taking benefits to the last person in the queue. So they use this very dictatorial way. Of course, India is a democracy. We will never do it. Secondly, we are not saying one child norm should be the normal norm. I don't believe that is the case. Even if we are able to come back to two child norm, if you look at the urban population, the way if you, slowly we hope that 50% of the population, or we read that 50% of the population of India will be living in cities. If that is the case, if you look at today's urban population, in most of the middle class households, you will find only one child or no child. The Western idea of enjoying the life and not getting bothered about the child, and secondly, the huge cost of child rearing, including schooling and all that, leads couples to avoid children. So, as far as majority community is concerned, the rate of population, at least in city, you will, if you just do a dip check, call up 100 families, and you'll find what is the number of children that they have. So this one child policy is not that it is already voluntary done in the name of family planning, but this is also disastrous. Slowly we will lose all the relationships. We'll forget what is brother sister. We'll forget what is masi, what is bua. We'll forget what is chacha and mama. We have precisely defined our relationships, which are slowly going down the drain of uncle and aunties and nieces and nephews or cousins. So if we need to do it in the nuclear family to have emotional balance, we will need families which are not one child norm or no child norm. But I think the bill will talk of 2 plus. It will not talk of 1 plus. That is very clear. So I think even if we stick to 2 child norm, we will not fall into a gap which you are talking about. And to be fair, China has also reversed its policy and it has realized, but it has done as per its own. So you can have policies which are applicable for next 10 years, for next 20 years. That is up to you how you use the population policy. It is not that one population policy is cast in stone. We had no population policy till independence. Then after 1950-60, I think the family planning wing was opened, and then we kept on my fine tuning that the population policy, hum do hamare do, or then only one child, etc. So we have to keep on using various democratic norms, various policy pushes to fine tune the policy of population control as and when the situation changes.
Rohit, would you like to add something to that?
Yes. All points has been covered by Ratanji, no doubt about that. But just I'll add some few points. Why it is necessary? If the present situation continues, we will become world's most populous country by 2024. Every year we add 15 million people for our population base that is largest in the world. If we compare the land and population ratio, India accounts for about 70% of the world's population and only 2.2% of the world's land mass. Socio-economic issues such as large-scale environmental degradation, urban air pollution, and the reduction in the size of agricultural holdings that has already put by Ratanji. So, as we all know, that the state of infrastructure in the country has failed to meet the demands of the growing population, and most parts of the country are suffering due to the absence of basic education and health facilities due to this population explosion. And one important point which I want to point out, that our ecological footprint increases and biocapacity decreases day by day due to overpopulation. It is very important to know that gap between ecological footprint and biocapacity is 187%. Hence, we are ecological debtors. We are literally consuming the natural resources of our future generations. If the present situation continues, within less than 30 years, people of India will not be able to live with dignity.
Since you talked about the area, I will also talk about the water. India has 4% of the world's fresh water, but 16% of the world population.
Right.
Absolutely. You see where we are heading.
Right. So these are various reasons, and I'm sure there are many more reasons why this particular bill is necessary. Just to address the final and perhaps the biggest controversy around this topic, and which is mainly political, it is that the allegation that this particular bill, the population control bill, would be anti-Muslim. So, primarily, Ratanji, how would you answer to this allegation that it is anti-Muslim? And just before you answer this, I would like to present one data that when I say it's 2.1, our fertility rate is 2.1%. If we divide it by on the not on the religious lines, but if we just look at what is the fertility rate among Muslim community, then it is, and correct me if I'm wrong, then it is around 2.5 or 2.6, while Hindu community's fertility rate is around 1.9 or 2.0. Correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, Ratanji, could you please answer to this?
See, every issue in India is politicized. Every issue is put in the name of religion. India is a secular country accepted by the fathers of the constitution, and though it was not named as such as secular country, but even in 1975, the word 76, the word was added. Even if you don't go by that, we have been, as per our own civilization, we respect all religions, we respect all societies, we give equal right and respect to all the communities, all the faiths, and all the belief systems. That is point one. But if we are living together in the land, we must share our responsibilities, not just rights. Our problem is that we have hardly stressed on the duty part, but we have always stressed on right part, which is not typical Indian culture, which is not Bharatiya culture. Because when we talk of dharma, we talk of duty. We don't talk of only rights. So right from king to the last person in the population has his own rights and his own duty. Duty comes first. If duty is to survive and let people survive, then somebody trying to seek certain privileges in the name of religion is not acceptable at all. That is, we must remember. Secondly, the same thing is also applicable to Christians. They are not allowed to have birth control measures. They are adapted to the situation. No religion can make you live a life of filth, a life of horrendous poverty, and life of deprivation, because religion is meant for the people. People are not for the religion. Whether any prophet, any son of the god, or any natural process created religion and faith systems, all of them are supposed to give better life to the people. What is the use of life which becomes hellish in the name of religion? So this issue of calling it a political issue is not the right approach. Secondly, demography is destiny, as they say. Yes, demography is very important, and one cannot shy away from saying that demography results in huge influence, especially where there is democracy. You can control certain population in a dictatorship like China, but we will not do it in India. Not just question of can't, but are we all not responsible? I'll give you some figures. Hindu population has dropped from 84 to 79.8 in last 70 years. Muslim population increased from 9.58 to 14.2, and Christians very mysteriously remain at 2.1, 2.3, which is wrong, because all of them claim that their actual number is very high. Even Pew survey says that. I've got some Pew survey reports. I will just share those reports. From 1951 to 61, the population growth rate was 21.6 average. Hindus had were 20.7, Muslims 32.7, Christians 29.0. 61 to 71, all population rose by 24.8%, Hindus 23.7, Muslims 30.9, and Christians 33.0. 71 to 81, all India 24.7, Hindus 24, Muslims 30.7, Christians 17.0. 81 at 91, all India 23.9, Hindus 22.7, Muslims 33%, exactly 32.9, and Christians 17.8. And lastly, by the time 2001-11, when we say the population rate has dipped, all India rate of growth is 17.7, Hindus 16.7, which is lower than the average, as you pointed out rightly, and Muslims 24.7, and Christians 15.7. Now, how does that affect when I talk of democracy? If you look at Mallappuram, a Muslim majority district, Hindus' rights have been curtailed by the local population. It has happened wherever there is dominance. Look at Bengal, how it has happened. To give you some numbers, to first of all, when the people very carelessly drop the word sensitive area, what is sensitive area? If it is not communal definition, what is communal definition? Why no Hindu majority area is ever sensitive area? Why an area where Muslim population increases more than 20%, it becomes sensitive area? Because we have mindlessly, thoughtlessly tried to give certain privileges because it suits politically. We have definition of saying so many Muslim dominated seats. Why? And when you see the survey and the census of various opinion polls, they say Muslims so much percentage, Jat, SC, ST, XYZ. So Hindu is never considered a society. So the dominance of a particular community changes the entire voting pattern. And how it affects, if you look at the northeast area, why it had separatist movements for so long? Because the population ratio changed from local tribal indigenous phase to Christianity, which started way back in 1836. So we need a little longer memory. But it was finally, it has been controlled but not yet ended because there is huge backing of church even today. And not only that, they were able to bring in third-party countries to try to arbitrate in this. If you look at East Pakistan, how are they born? Demographically, by dominant numbers. How does entire belt of Bihar, Bengal and Assam affect us? Because that is where all the infiltrators are going. And I'll give you some numbers. 9 out of 27 districts, particularly bordering Bangladesh, have significant majority Muslim population, over 50%. I will not give numbers because that will scare people. Then there is, if you look at largest growing religion in Assam, it is Muslim. Muslims accounted for 17.62% in 1951. Today they count for 34.22% population. Is similar is the situation in Bangladesh, Bengal and Bihar. Now it means that your politics is decided by the so-called sensitive areas, not on the basis of development. If you look at the opinion polls, I saw it just yesterday. The number of people who would vote on the basis of development has reduced to 18%. And if they say Jat and Dharam, it will decide nearly 35% of the people's decision. So till we are educated enough, till we vote on the real issues that concern us, until we are influenced to vote by religion, religion will remain a factor. And as popular saying goes, jahan jahan Hindu ghata, desh bata. Afghanistan gone, Pakistan gone, East Pakistan and Bangladesh gone. Northeast controlled very difficult with great difficulty. Jammu Kashmir controlled with great difficulty and political will. But there also there are people who are trying to instigate these people. And now if you look at the areas around Bengal, as I said, after Bengal, what happened in after the elections, we know what has happened. I will not repeat it. It was worse. It was a little worse genocide than happened during direct action and during partition time. So I may sound politically incorrect. I may sound very communal, but these are hard facts of history which we cannot forget. And as long as the communities want to live peacefully with other communities, demography is not an issue. Why nobody worries about Sikhs being in majority in Punjab? Because we don't consider, and they don't want any different privileges. They don't oppress the other people in the society. So as long as we believe in the secular principles of Sarva Dharma, which is not secular, I'm sorry to say, this Hindu principle of Sarva Dharma Sambhav and respect to all people and justice to all, this population should not worry, that democratic change should not worry. Unfortunately, the Salafist theology, if you look at Kerala, in Kerala, the extremism of Islam has increased multifold during last 20 years. Why? Because of influence of people who come from Middle East, because of changing demographics, and nobody raises an eyebrow, nobody talks about that. So while Christians have more or less integrated, except those people who want to evangelize, and they are part of Indian society in most of the ways, except the people who want to convert, who create all the ruckus around human rights because they can't convert, as if there is birthright, which is not even in constitution. We have slowly, Muslims are realizing that we're part of the society, which is what I've been saying for all along. And as long as that happens, demography is not an issue. But when there are people who are trying to instigate and try to influence the politics and democracy of this country in the name of population or in the name of so-called secularism, then there is a serious issue. So that is why demography is also destiny. till we are able to reform the people, we are able to stress upon people and influence them in a way that yes, we belong to this country, we have same duty as everybody else to save this nation, so we are saved. So we live a better life.
Okay. Rohit, would you like to add something?
Is this bill anti-Muslim? This is the question which is always there whenever we are going to discuss this population control bill. The answer is absolutely no, a big no. Every time this question arises while discussing the population control bill, this bill is not against any religion or community, or you can say cult, but this bill is against population. Some people, for their own benefit, make hue and cry and says that Islam khatre mein hai while discussing the bill. But fortunately, now these kind of people will not be succeeded in their plans, as now, due to media and all other reasons, Muslims are accepting the change for their benefit. They are the one who are at the top, facing the most problems due to the population explosion. Hence, this bill is not anti-Muslim, but actually it is anti-population.
Okay. So, as we all heard about this from both our guests, population control bill is not really anti-Muslim as it is being talked about in the media and all the social media and all. But it is, in fact, as Rohit rightly said at the end, that it is population control bill will perhaps benefit the Muslims most, as they are facing the brunt of population boom at the most. So this was our video on population control bill. If you want to know about various topics that are happening and that are something that society needs to know about, then you must subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you like this particular video, then please share it on all the social media platforms that you are active on. And again, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, News Bharati. Thank you.